You know Wolverine, the unkillable warrior with unbreakable claws, a mutant whose healing factor has defied death more times than we can count. But what if I told you there was a version of him who didn't just heal fast? A version of Logan who didn't just fight in the present, but across all of time itself? What if Wolverine could control time? At first, it sounds like a gift. The ultimate evolution of his power. No more running from the past. No more mistakes. No more regrets. But time isn't a weapon. It is a mid-game. And when Logan tried to control time, time fought back. This is the story of how Wolverine became lost in the timeline. Forever. It started with an experiment, a classified government project buried so deep that even S.H.I.E.L.D. had no record of it. They called it the Chrono Initiative. The goal? Create a weapon that could undo history. Not just change the future, but rewrite reality itself. But they failed. Every subject died. Every experiment ended in catastrophe. Until Logan broke in. They weren't expecting him. They weren't prepared. He was there for something else, something unrelated. But fate has a cruel sense of humor, because the moment Wolverine stepped into that lab, the entire experiment collapsed. A surge of energy tore through him. His body burned with blue fire, his adamantium skeleton vibrating at a frequency it had never known before. And then, everything stopped. Not just the experiment, not just the room, but time itself. When Logan woke up, he wasn't where he had fallen. He was standing on a battlefield he recognized. Normandy, 1944. He had been here before, during the war. But this time, something was wrong. He saw himself, a younger Wolverine, standing there ready to fight. Two versions of the same man in the same moment. And that's when he understood. This wasn't just time travel. This was something else. Something worse. He wasn't moving through time. Time was moving through him. Every moment of his life was unraveling at once. 1 second, he was in Normandy. The next, he was in Japan, watching himself train with the samurai. Then he was back in the Weapon X facility, claws dripping with blood from the first time they forced him to fight. And then he saw something he was never supposed to see. His own death. A future where his body lay in ruins, where not even his healing factor could save him. And standing over him was someone he never expected himself. Something had changed. The more he moved through time, the more the past began to shift. People he remembered were suddenly gone. Battles he had fought had different outcomes. The X-Men never formed. The Sentinels, worse than ever. And in some realities, mutants didn't even exist at all. Logan had become a paradox. He was no longer part of one timeline. He was connected to all of them. And the worst part, he wasn't the only one. Something else had noticed him. Something older. Something that lived outside of time. And it was coming for him. Logan had fought many enemies before. He had faced gods, monsters, and killers. But this was different. It had no face, no voice, just a presence, a shadow that existed in every timeline he stepped into. And every time he tried to escape, it followed. Every version of himself that he had ever been. It erased them, one by one, until there was only one left, the last Wolverine, the one who had started it all. And he realized the truth. The only way to stop it was to erase himself completely, destroy his connection to time, break the loop, because if he didn't, every version of reality would collapse. But could he do it? Could he make that choice? To undo everything? To erase every battle, every memory, every fight he had ever won? To let go of the one thing he had always held onto, his existence? In the end, Wolverine did what only he could do. He let go. He reached deep into the heart of time itself, dug his claws into the fabric of reality, and tore himself out. He was gone, and the world reset. Mutants existed again. The X-Men returned. Everything was as it should have been. Almost, because deep in the shadows of time, something still lingers. A presence, a whisper, a memory that should not exist. Some say if you listen closely enough, you can still hear the growl of a man who was never supposed to be. A man who fought against time itself. A man named Logan. But he doesn't belong anywhere anymore. He is nowhere. And he is everywhere. Because no one, not even time, can truly erase Wolverine. So what do you think? If Wolverine had the power to control time, would he use it for good? Or would he become the greatest threat the world has ever seen? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this what-if scenario, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon.